Hey everybody, welcome to Triathlon Tips Live. I'm your Coach John Slocum. Let me see if I can get there we go over here. It's coming up. There we go. Hey, well, everybody, welcome. I'm Coach John Slocum, and welcome to Triathlon Tips Live 70.3 edition, all leading up to Ironman 70.3 Florida and Haines City in December. I want to welcome everybody on board, and if you will, just shoot me out in the chat. Say, hey, what's up? And let me see who's here. I got several people in right off the bat. I want to thank you guys for coming out. This is really, really great to see this. This is a growing little video podcast, I guess you call it, or live stream here on YouTube and on Facebook, and just want to say thanks a lot for coming out. So I want to tell you our sponsor for our live streams is Longevity Wellness Center here in Bradenton, Florida, where they are a Oriental medicine facility, acupuncturist, and very soon to have available to you guys supplements on a web store. This is a really great stuff. They do a great job. Hey, Alicia, how you doing? Linda, Linda's in the house. Thank you, Linda, for coming out. John Myers is in the house here. Dan Leish, we want to thank you guys for coming out. This guy, it's really great to just see you guys here, and you can share this out to friends. I'd really appreciate it. Howard Johnson's in the house right there. I love that name, Howard. How you doing? I've seen your name before out there. Just to an injury update. So you know that this goal of this 70.3 edition, this 16 weeks leading up to Ironman Florida, was to keep me honest with you guys. And to be totally honest, I've come up with an injury. I've had an Achilles tendon injury. I've been released to pool running. Doesn't bother my biking at all. Doesn't bother my swimming at all. But it does really keep and not hinder, but totally shut down my running. I did some pool running this week. Did it go as well as I hoped? Not really, but it'll be all right. I'll make it. I'll make it through this thing, and we'll hopefully be able to compete at Ironman Florida 70.3. Regardless, I will be there. I will be there to cheer everybody on, even if I'm not competing. So what's our focus tonight? Our focus tonight is how to flatten a hilly ride. Y'all know that the Ironman 70.3 course in Haines City is a rolling hills ride. So that's why we're focusing on these rolling hills. So here we go. I want to welcome everybody back to this live stream. And what's it like to ride a hill and not climb it? That's the big question tonight, is not climbing hills. I want to show you guys as we go through tonight the difference between climbing hills and riding over hills. So what we got to do is we got to look at what we're going to be seeing as a hill in most Ironman racing. I've got to turn this off here a second. Hold on just a second. I've got an echo coming at me. There we go. Shut that off. We got to know the difference between rolling hills and a mountain climb. So what I mean by that is I've taken and looked at 30 different Ironman races when I was getting ready for a video that I did on Ironman Blue Ridge, the Bear Claw climb. And what I saw on these iconic I should say these iconic climbing situations is I found out that most of them didn't have a huge climb. Most of them got all of their elevation gain through rolling hills. So what I want to teach you guys tonight is how to climb. I want to teach you guys how to climb rolling hills. I want to teach you guys how to descend on rolling hills. And I want to teach you guys in the end how to flatten out a race course. Well, first off, that we're going to talk about is what to do going up a rolling hill climb. The first thing we need to know, and this has to do with any type of climbing, even hilly or mountainous type climbing. All of these first attributes on climbing and on descending all have to do with, regardless of if it's a climb or if it's just a rolling hills. So, first thing you need to know about climbing. What we want to do when we climb is we want to make sure that we use our pacing. We want to make sure that we use our power meter, and I'm a huge fan of power meters. I have one on both of my bikes, and I really enjoy working with athletes who have a power meter. Or you can use heart rate, but the heart rate is reactive. The different methods that you can use to measure how hard that you're working. One of them is rate of perceived exertion. This is very much subjective to how you feel that particular day. Another one is speed. Speed is a very bad way to regulate how you climb and how you descend and how you actually go through a race, because you can't control the wind, the weather, and the hills and the descents. This speed is no way. It's not a good way to do it. Um, rate of rate of perceived exertion, and the other ones are heart rate or power. Those are the two that actually really kind of work. Heart rate, like I say, is reactive. You put out an effort, and your heart continues to rise. Your heart rate continues to rise after you've done that effort. You are behind the the pure effort. Your heart rate raises after the effort is done. It continues to rise as much as 3 minutes after the effort. But the best one is power, because how hard you push on that pedal is being registered. It doesn't matter if it's headwind, hills, downhill. It doesn't care how you feel. It is a sensor that's picking up how hard you're pushing on the pedal, and it's sending that to the head unit in the form of what's called watts. They're converting it into watts. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we we watch our pacing. We want to stay focused. We do not want to get our brain off of what we're doing. We don't want to get carried away when, not if, when someone passes you going up the hill. Remember, you're not racing them in the bike race, or you're not racing them in the bike portion of the race. Second, the thing you want to do is you want to stay aero as much as possible going up the hills. Now, does that mean that as you're grinding it out onto a 10% grade that you're going to stay aero? No, you're going to have to come out of the aero position at some point. But what you want to do on the lower parts of a climb or a hill, and if the hill is not really steep, you want to stay aero as much as possible. There's a couple of reasons for that. First, you're going to be much more consistent. You're going to be able to hold your power and right in that power band where you want to be the whole time without having it stray up or down. You also, it's going to cause smoother pedaling. If you're in the aero position, you're tucked over, you're going to continue to pedal at a rate that you would have been and feeling on the flat parts of the course. So we want to stay aero as much as possible. How do you do that? You practice it. You get out there and you take hills, you take slight upgrades, always in the aero position. Now, really, really, really important to this whole thing is never stand on a climb. I know there's some of you guys on here. Um, I notice some of you guys out here are saying, "Hey, you got to stand to really climb good." Well, guys, we're not climbing. We're triathletes. We're not bike racers. Um, Howard, I'm going to get to that one. Howard's asking if on a longer downhill coasting, do you find it more difficult to wake the legs back up afterwards? We are going to really cover that a little bit farther on into this broadcast. Um, Now, the third thing we need to know about when you're riding uphill is this is when you fuel. When you're riding in the flats, when you're riding downhill, you don't want to fuel if you know that you're going to have these slight uphill grades. You want to, as you're starting to slide up those hills, that's when you want to go and reach in the back, grab your gel, or reach down for a water bottle if you don't have one between the arrow bars. The reason for this is because you're already going slower. So if you're going slower, it makes it easier to do those kind of things. Now, the number four thing, this is incredibly important because I really, really, really screwed this up. I mean, I messed this one up bad. I'll be the first to honestly sit here and tell you I messed up. Gearing. gear selection. There's two different parts of gear selection I want to talk to you guys about. The first one is on your bike. The gear selection on your bike is incredibly important. Most bikes in Florida, at least that I know of, usually come with like an 1123 or an 1125 cassette in the back, which means there's 11 teeth on the smaller one, 23 or 25 on the bigger gear. That's really not enough to save your legs in a triathlon race if you're climbing the hills. You want to jump up to an 1134, 1136, or even maybe a 1234, 1236 if you're not a real power person and can use that 11 tooth gear. You also want to look at the front gearing. You do not want a giant gear on the front. You want what's called a compact gear set. This is something you can go and you can talk to your bike shop about and let them know that you're coming up into a hilly race. Yes, it's going to cost you a little money to do this, but it's costing you a ton of money to do the race. And if you miss on the gearing, then you're going to blow your legs up like I did at Ironman Blue Ridge. I didn't listen to my bike shop. I didn't put the right gearing on the front of my bike. And I really had to power up that big giant climb that they have there in too much gear, and I burned my legs up. So we don't want to burn our legs up. Our whole key here is we don't want to burn our legs up. Now, the next thing you need to know about gearing is what gear you're going to use going up the hill. You don't want to grind it up the hill. You don't want to put out all kinds of power going up the hill. You want more spin going up the hill. You want to keep your legs moving. You do not want to add a lot more energy going out of your body as you head up the hills. Number 5 on climbing is you want to stay comfortable. You want to stay on a position in your bike that you feel very comfortable. You want to stay in your comfort zone as much as you can as far as putting down the power. Number 6, don't burn matches. What I mean by that is in a race, you have just so many quote unquote matches you can burn. I tell people, I told the athletes I coach that what you want to do is you're going to think about your pack of matches as an old school pack of 20 matches. In a half Ironman, you're going to burn 5 matches before 4 or 5 matches, just because that's how much it's going to take to get through the race. In an Ironman race, you're going to burn 6, 7, 8 matches. So you're going to almost burn half the pack of matches just because the race is that long. So you only have a certain number of matches that you can burn from that point on. If you hit every single hill super, super hard, you're going to burn a match every single time. And by the time you hit mile 8 on a by the time you hit mile 8 on the half marathon part of your race, you're going to know that all your matches are gone. That goes for Ironman racing. You're going to hit mile by 18 and all your matches will be gone. Once your matches are gone, you're not getting them back and you're going to be doing a whole lot of walking. Now, this is one that I hear and I talk to my athletes about. And when I tell them about this, some of them look at me like I'm cross-eyed and have no clue what I'm talking about, but never, ever, ever power into a hill. And what I'm talking about is that classic beginner cyclist mentality of, if I could build a lot of speed going into that hill, I'm going to go farther up that hill before I slow down. Well, it doesn't work. What you're doing is you're burning a match before you even get to the hill. You want to take and continue to keep your power, keep your heart rate as steady and as smooth as possible, head into that hill and start up the hill. We will talk about this in detail a little bit later on when we start getting over here onto the whiteboard. So that's all about climbing. Now let's talk about descending. Descending is a very scary thing for a lot of people. I got to tell you, I'm a monster descender. I love going downhill fast. But I could spot a person a mile away who's nervous and scared while going downhill. They'll roll over the top of a hill and immediately get on the brakes. They'll weave back and forth as they're going down the hill. They'll be stiff on the bike. They just are not comfortable. So the things we're going to talk about when it comes to descending is how to learn to descend. You know, the only way to learn to descend is to do it. So what you want to do is, if you're in a hilly part of the country, hey, Kevin, what's up? If you're in a hilly part of the country, you're going to want to take and pick a hill that has some curves in it that you can go down the hill, back up the hill, down the hill, back up the hill, and just ease into it. Go down the hill the first times and learn how to turn, learn how to brake, learn when to brake. Um, Learn to build confidence in your descending, learn to build control in your descending, but always, always, always do it safely. Relax. Number two is relax and breathe. A lot of people will go over the top of a hill, especially if it's a fast, short downhill, and they'll hold their breath and hang on tight, and they'll stiffen up and they'll hold their bike and they're gonna go down, and the bike starts to feel twitchy and it starts to jump around on them. They get very, very nervous and immediately grab the brakes and slow way down and kill the momentum that they have. This is where you're going to learn, like I was talking about in point number one, that you want to practice the downhills. And one of the things you want to do is make sure that you continue to breathe as you're going down the hill. You want to soften your upper body. You want to relax into the bike. Number three, you're going to be descending, and there's no way you're going to descend without having corners. Now, I've got a friend. He's in the chat right now, Kevin. He's a driver for a Champ Car team that I'm a gas guy or a fire guy on that Champ Car team, and we talk all the time about how when we're out riding bikes, how people don't corner correctly, how they don't apex a turn. So they'll go into a turn tight. They'll keep tight against the turn. They don't sweep to the outside and cut back to the middle and to the outside to straighten the turn as much as possible and carry momentum and carry speed. And how you do that is you don't look right in front of your bike. A lot of people, I see them when you're out there riding your bike, you're riding your bike, you're in the aero position, you're looking 2.5 feet in front of the wheel, and you're just going. You're going to be doing that on the uphill. So get up, they'll get on the bars and they'll look down, and as they're pulling and on the bars to go up the hill, you're looking in front of your bike. You're looking 2 feet in front of your bike. This is something you don't want to do on a descent. What you want to do on a descent is you want to look out ahead of your bike, because you're going to be picking up a lot of speed and you're going to have to react to what's going on ahead of you on that downhill. So you're going to be looking farther ahead. So you're going to need to pick your head up. You need to keep your eyes forward. And as you come into a corner, you want to go to the outside, especially if it's a closed road. You want to use the whole road, and you want to sweep across to the inside. Always check for other cyclists when you're doing this. And you want to gradually let the bike slip out to the outside. But the whole time, what you're doing as you're coming into the turn, you want to look at the exit of the turn. You want to see where you want to end up, not what's right in front of you. You want to look ahead of you and see where you want to be when you come out of that turn. Number four is in the cornering is how you corner. Now we know what to do when we hit a corner, but how are you going to corner? How are you going to control your bike as you're going through that corner? Let's just we're going to go into a left-hand turn. We already know that we're going to apex that turn. We're going to sweep to the outside. We're going to bring it to the inside. We're going to let the bike drift to the outside. But how do we stick that bike to the ground? You only got this much tire. How are you going to stick that bike to the ground? What you're going to do is, as you're coming up to the turn, you're going to put, let's say we're going to the left, as I say, you're going to put your right leg down at 90 degrees straight down as you're coasting. You're not going to keep your feet flat. You're going to put your right foot down. You're going to plant that right foot. You're going to push on that right pedal. And at the same time, you're going to push on the left side of your handlebars. You're going to practice this. This takes a little practice, but you're going to plant the rear tire with the foot down on the pedal. You're going to plant the front tire with the pressure on the handlebars, and that's going to actually sweep you around that corner. You're not even going to think about turning a corner. You're going to sweep through the corner. That's how you see these Tour de France guys just sweep so smoothly through the corners. If you watch, every time they come to the corner, they'll drop their foot, they'll push down on the bar, they'll pull back up, they'll get their legs tucked in, and they'll go into the descent again. That's how they do that as far as how you corner using your body to get around the corners. Number five, I never ever like seeing this, especially if I'm catching someone, is them descending in the aero bars. Guys, you have no control in the aero bars. If something clicks just a little bit, your hands are away from the brakes. You're narrow. If you're narrow, you're twitchy. You're not going to be able to control it. Get your arms out on the bars, lower your body, lower your elbows down. If you want to get aero, tuck your elbows, tuck your knees in. You'll get just about as aero as if you're on the aero bars, but your hands will be at the brakes and you will be in much better control of your bike. Number 6, stay calm and think. Everything you're doing, stay calm and think. Keep your eyes forward. Uh, keep your eyes forward and know what's coming. See the turns, see your way through the turns, and then you've got to slow down. All right. You're coming into a turn, you're coming into a situation where you have to slow and get to that turn and hit that turn right. The last thing you want to do is be still braking when you start into the turn. You want to do all of your braking leading up into the turn. And as you get to the turn, as you start to push down on with your foot and your hands, you want to let loose the brakes and let your bike slide through the turn and out. You may have to just, keep a touch on them, but you want to stop your actual braking before you actually get into the turns. So that's what we got. That's how we're going to learn to climb. We're going to learn to descend. And now we're going to learn what we're going to do with that new abilities of climbing the hills and descending the hills. And what we're going to do is we're going to now learn how to flatten out the race course. If you're getting value from this, make sure you drop down below and you hit subscribe. And if you're really getting a lot of value, I'll have the link in the description at the end of this, but it's patreon.com/Coach John. Join on board, become a patron, and help out the channel. I'll tell you what, all this equipment's not cheap, guys. It's not cheap to do this. I very much enjoy it. I know I do coach people, and if you do need coaching, I do direct coaching with people. And I see a couple of the athletes I've worked with and I'm working with in the chat, and it's really nice to see you guys. All right, so let's talk about the actual race now. We're going to go into the race, and the first question that you're going to have, especially if you have a road bike and a time trial bike, is what bike am I going to use? I'm going to tell you right now, always hydrate. I'm going to tell you, you always will use your time trial bike. Okay? Always use your time trial bike. The reason for that is I looked at, like I said earlier, 30 races that are iconic hilly climbs, hilly races with a lot of climbing, and there's a ton more flats or light rolling hills than there are actual climbs. The weight difference used to be a big weight difference between a triathlon bike and a road bike, but now the road bikes are actually getting a little heavier. Triathlon bikes are getting a little lighter. That weight difference that everybody's like, oh, I want to save the weight. It's a few kilos, a pound, pound and a half, 2 pounds maybe. That's not going to make a whole lot of difference. Testing. This has been tested. It has been proven that the time trial bike and the aero road bike, the difference is if you are using on a hilly course, let me get this right. On a hilly course, if you're using an aero road bike with clip-on aero bars, an aero road bike is very expensive. This is not your average everyday road bike. This is something that's been built out of kind of triathlon bike technology, brought into UCI legal and made into a road bike with the drop bars, the whole bit. Using that versus a quality equal as quality could be between the two, triathlon bike on a hilly course on a half Ironman distance is a 4-minute difference. The triathlon bike is approximately 4 minutes faster, and on a full Ironman, it is between 7 and 10 minutes faster. So that whole idea that the road bike is going to be faster climbing, it's not. There are 2 reasons in the world that I could think of where you would use a road bike in a triathlon race. Number one, it's the only bike you got. Number two, uh, if you are not confident in your descending skills, a road bike does handle much better. Yeah, the T is really good, by the way, Kevin. Let's see if I can do this. This is like something new for me. Boom, there we go. Kevin says, I love the T. Yeah, Linda says he wants to see a video of this. I'm going to need help. If we're going to do a video, I'd love to do a video on how to turn, like I was talking about, and what I can do there is I would need some help videotaping that one. That's one I can't do on my own. So if back to our, not that I've gotten off track, but back to our video. Now, let's talk about the whiteboard today. This is our whole thing. This is what we came in here to do. We want to learn how to ride a rolling hill course fast and have plenty of legs left for the run. Remember, we talked about earlier that we are not bike racers. We are triathletes. Okay. And being a triathlete, we have to run after the bike. We have to ride, we have to swim before we get on the bike, and we have to run afterwards. So we want to be able to go through this rolling hills ride and flatten it out as much as possible. I'm not going to claim responsibility for this particular lesson. I'm going to tell you that a good friend of mine who was a Continental Pro racer who won many stages, who was at one time number 5 in the country, time trialist, Bobby Sweeting, taught me this when I did one of his camps, and it proves over and over and over again to be true. I've crushed people in Claremont. I've crushed people in Louisville, Kentucky. I did in Roanoke, Virginia. Anytime I can get on a rolling hill ride, I could pretty much use this method and beat just about anybody except somebody using this method. They're pretty much if they're stronger, brighter than me, then they're going to get me. But I could beat some pretty good strong riders doing this. Does it work on a major climb? No. If you get a major climb that's over 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes long, that climber, that quote unquote climber, can get away from you. If they're not a good descender, you can get a lot of it back, but we worry about that. We're not going to worry about them. We're probably going to see them on the run anyway, because they're going to blow their legs up. Okay, so let's talk about our particular racers here. We got our blue racer, and our blue racer is a climber coaster. This is a guy who's going to come into the race, and he's going to climb, it doesn't really matter. He's going to come into, or she's going to come into the race, and they're going to kill it on the uphills and coast on the downhills, saying that what they're going to do is they're going to light it up, and then they're going to coast it back down. And this is where Howard was talking about. He wants to talk about waking up your legs. I'm going to show you that you don't even have to think about waking up your legs on this type of thing, unless it's a major, long, multi-mile, blazing fast downhill. That's a whole different thing. But I'm talking about the rolling hills here. So our blue rider is a climber coaster, and our red rider is a guy who rides over the hills. That's what we're going to do. We're going to learn to ride over the hills. We're not going to climb them. We're going to ride them. We're riding up and we're riding back down. So the goal we were talking about, because I'm a power guy, our goal is going to be the average goal, power goal of both riders, blue rider and red rider, is 180 watt average for the ride. This is a number that I use. This is literally my power range when I'm doing a half Ironman races. I'm shooting for 180 watts average power through the race. So rider number 1 is our climber coaster. He's going to hit these 3 hills. We got these 3 hills right here. They're slowly, gradually getting bigger as they go along, and then he'll continue to ride on, and they're going to continue to go through hills. But this guy's going to go ahead and he's going to power up the hill. He's going to crush his way up this first hill at 300 plus watts. He's going to put down more power going up the hill. He's going to roll over the top. He's going to take a breath. He's going to coast back down the hill, roll around the bottom, and power back up the other side, pushing about 300 watts again. Roll back over the other side with 0 watts. Roll back up again at 300 or less watts, because now remember, he's burning his legs here. He's going to hit 300, get close to 300 watts over the top, and then 0 watts back down the other side. We're going to travel over that 4 or 5 mile distance on three rolling hills. And so this guy is going to sit there and he's going to put out 300, 0, 300, 0, 300, 0. So our red rider, on the other hand, is the rider who's going to ride over the hills. What do I mean by that? What we're going to talk about is this guy, this red rider, is going to, instead of putting out 300 watts going up the hill, he's going to put out about 10 to 15% more watts than he would put out on the flats. No more. Going to regulate that, or you're going to regulate it with your heart rate. You're going to only put out about 10 to 15% more power than you would on the flats. This guy's doubling his power. We're going to put out 10 to 15% of our power. All right. He's doing 75 to 100% over. But on the flip side, when we go back down the other side, we're going to continue to pedal. We're going to continue to push. We're going to push gears until we run out of gears. We're going to get harder and harder and harder, and we're going to continue to keep our cadence the same as we were on the flats. As we were going up the hill, it's going to drop slightly. You can't keep the same cadence go up the hill, but we're going to kind of spin it up the hill, and we're going to roll over the top. We're going to give it gear, give it gear, give it gear, and ride back down the other side, pushing about 100, 150 watts back down the other side without really having a whole lot of energy, because guess what? Gravity is our friend. We're going to actually pick up speed. We're going to hit the bottom of this hill, and then we're going to head back up the other side, again, pushing 200 watts up, approximately 100 going down. Back over here, we're going to hit 200 up. We're probably going to hit the 200 going back up because we aren't burning our legs as we're going along, and we're going to hit the 100 back down. So what's that do? That takes our red rider, instead of riding this humpy hill, he's going to be riding more like this. He is flattened the curve. That's our goal, to take and flatten the curve. What happens with this, and it's really interesting to see, and I've done it so many times that when I was told about it, I didn't believe it. When you hit that first hill, this guy is going to climb the hill. It's going to take him about 2 minutes to get up this first hill. He's going to roll over the top, and he's going to coast down the other side for, say, 30 seconds to get to the bottom. As we climb the hill at 200 watts, 100 watts less, 1/3 the amount of energy going out, we're going to take about 5 more seconds to get up the hill. Going to look horrible. That guy's going to get out there on us. He's going to get ahead of us quite a bit. But when we roll over the top of that hill and he's coasting down, we're going to be rolling power. We're going to be hitting gears. We're going to be picking up speed at a faster rate than he is. And it's going to take us, say, 25 to 27 seconds to get down. We're going to catch them right at the bottom of the hill, but we're also going to pass him as we roll up the other side, because we're going to be carrying momentum more than they are, because they've coasted to the bottom. Now he's got up, he's out of the saddle, he's hitting that hill again. He's pushing 300 watts, a little bit bigger hill. Takes him 3 minutes to get up that hill and roll back down the other side in 35 seconds. On the flip side, we're going to hit that hill at 200 watts. It's going to take us approximately 3 to 4 seconds longer to get up that bigger hill, but we're going to crunch him coming back down, because again, we're going to be pushing downhill. At the top of this hill now, we were even. He's only 3 seconds ahead, much closer, much, much closer. And then as we push back down the hill, we're going to carry more speed than he is down the little bit longer hill. We're going to get to the bottom, and then we're going to hit the other end to the next hill. When we hit the next hill, he's going to be running out of gas. We're going to be pushing 200 watts. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule. There are billy goats out there. There are mountain goats out there that this system doesn't work for. But I'm talking about the average everyday triathlete here. I'm not talking about the guy who's going to be out there racing pros or racing super high elite level. Now, as we come over the top, we're going to go back down the hill, pushing the 100 watts. And this is going to be where we both hit the top of that hill in about 4 minutes flat, because we're carrying more momentum again at the bottom. We're going to hit the hill just about the top, roll over the top. He takes 40 seconds to get down. We take 35 to get down, bringing a total time of the Blue Rider at 10 minutes 45 seconds for this 5 or 6 mile section of these hills. And we're doing it in 10:37. We're putting distance on him, but yet not using up as much energy. Karen says, all this is great as long as triathletes in front of you are obeying the rules of the road by staying to the right, that when they're slower than you. Yes, that is the truth. You have to watch the rider in front of you. I got to tell you, on the descent at Ironman Blue Ridge, I was really pushing the downhills hard. I was pushing especially the main downhill hard, and I could spot the riders who were stiff and who were not paying attention to what they were doing. They were drifting around the road. You have to watch them. You have to be very careful coming up on them. You have to have a plan. It's your plan to get by them. You have to watch their front wheel. This is something I didn't think about talking about it, but you got to watch the front wheel of the rider. As you're coming up on someone, especially on a downhill, you watch their front wheel a little bit. And if you see their front wheel start to wiggle toward the outside, you know that they're coming over. You have to watch them. You have to let them know you're coming. You got to yell on your left as loud as you possibly can each and every time you're coming up on somebody. And don't do it right when you get to their back wheel. Let them know you're coming. Yeah, they lost a lot of speed since they didn't pass to the left due to triathlete on the far right, per traffic jam. If you got to watch traffic jams, yes, you do. You got to watch for the other riders. If you're in the back, you're responsible for safely passing. I had a rider at a local race just recently. It was a very, very bumpy, flat course. And I had this person decide that they were going to switch from the inside lane to the outside lane instantly. I had to watch him. I saw his front wheel twitch. I let up. He twitched over. I passed him. I did let him know. And I did let him know that I didn't appreciate the fact that he did that. And he said it was bumpy. And I said, yes, it's bumpy for everybody. So watch the other rider. Be safe out there. And if anybody's got any questions, go ahead and just shoot me any questions you might have. I'm open and ready to answer any questions you might have. Throw them into the chat and we'll address them. I don't care if it's about climbing. I don't care if it's about last week's coaching. It was what was last week was coaching versus training plan versus winging it, or the week before is nutrition, or the first week we did fitness, freshness, and taper. Just let me know if you got any questions on that. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. But that's pretty much what I have tonight as far as the presentation goes. But like I say, what we want to do is we want to flatten that curve. We want to flatten those humps. Get them as flat as you can by watching your power, watching your heart rate, and learning how to climb, learning how to descend. Hey guys, take a look at this. Hey guys, this is for the replay. I want to thank everybody who's here for the replay. And right here, I have a video on the Bear Claw climb. Take a look at that. It was a really great climb. It's a great race, Ironman Roanoke. This is Coach John. Boom. I'm out. Thank you all for coming.